Our story begins with a man shouting in terror at the sight before him, rushing to intervene and prevent a tragedy. A teenage girl is about to take her own life, preparing to jump from a bridge. Desperately, he pleads with her to reconsider, warning that the fall would be fatal. He tells her that today is not the day for such thoughts and begs her to think again. However, it is not his words that shock her, it is the sudden commotion around them. A crowd gathers, murmuring about something in the water. She turns, confused, and hears whispers of a body swept here by the current. As the man steps toward the scene, the crowd surges forward, only to be struck speechless. Beneath the bridge, a massive block of ice drifts along the river. But what leaves them truly stunned is what lies inside. A person completely encased in the frozen mass, an unprecedented sight. At this moment, the story shifts to the past, revealing the identity of this mysterious figure and the events that led him here. He was once a warrior, locked in battle, surrounded by enemies intent on killing him. Outnumbered but undeterred, he fights them off single-handedly. His sheer skill leaves his foes in awe. He tells them he has been fighting for days, 3 maybe 4, until the scent of blood became so familiar he no longer noticed it. But he is weary. He longs for an end to the ceaseless struggle. Despite his exhaustion, he rises once more, sword in hand, and resumes his attack. As expected, he defeats them all with effortless precision. When the battle is over, he turns to the girl he has been protecting and reassures her that she is safe. The threat is gone, he has slain at least 300 men. At that moment, another figure emerges, gazing at the blood-stained waterfall with admiration, calling it an extraordinary sight. However, he claims it pales in comparison to the greatest swordsman of the Goryeo kingdom, Cheok Ryugeom. Drawing his own sword, he addresses the warrior, Ryu, telling him that despite his skill he cannot escape fate. He knows that Ryu's last strike was truly his last. His body has reached its limit, the deadly poison in his veins ensuring his downfall. He scoffs at the cruel irony, that the girl Ryu risked everything for is not even worth the sacrifice. Furious, Ryu yells at him to be silent. Then, turning to the girl, he urges her not to cry, telling her nothing is worth her tears. He promises to end this here and now, just as he swore he would. At that moment, the masked man strikes. However, Ryu's opponent is caught off guard by his unexpected reaction. Instead of evading the attack, Ryu throws himself directly into it, taking the blow head-on. He had vowed to protect the girl at any cost, and with unwavering resolve, he hurls himself off the edge of the waterfall, dragging the masked man down with him to ensure he can do no further harm. As they plunge into the abyss, Ryu reaches for his opponent's mask, determined to uncover the face of the villain who has caused so much suffering. But when he finally sees it, shock paralyzes him. He can't believe his eyes. The masked man smirks, amused by Ryu's stunned reaction. In that moment, Ryu realizes the truth. His enemy is none other than Okun. The revelation leaves him speechless. But Okun merely offers a cool remark, claiming that in the end this outcome proves he is the true victor. Back in the present, the crowd remains mesmerized by the sight before them. A person perfectly preserved within a massive block of ice. Nothing like this has ever been recorded in history. Experts conduct examinations and determine that the frozen body dates back to the Goryeo era. Yong Sang-yong, the head of the intelligence agency's secret research division, which operates under direct orders from the president, remarks that this may be the first tangible evidence of human cryopreservation. Despite all it has endured, the body remains in an extraordinary state. One of the attending scientists questions the need for such extreme security measures, arguing that the subject may feel violated upon awakening. The director, however, responds firmly, stating that such concerns would vanish if the scientist had seen the classified data. The being before them cannot be compared to an ordinary human. In fact, calling it human at all might not be accurate. The more they study it, the more unsettling the discoveries become, until it becomes clear that this body quite literally embodies the definition of the unknown. The scientist clarifies that his concern is not opposition but caution. Perhaps this figure should be seen as a gift from their ancestors to the present age. The director nods in agreement, admitting that he too is optimistic. However, whether this body is a blessing or a catastrophe remains unknown. The truth will only be revealed once it wakes. At that very moment, just as the scientist asserts that the frozen figure poses no threat, Ryu suddenly awakens, and without warning he attacks. Sometime later, a driver notices the people around him staring in bewilderment, yet he cannot understand why. Then, out of nowhere, Ryu appears, sprinting at an inhuman speed, effortlessly surpassing the velocity of moving vehicles. More astonishingly, he weaves ahead of them with ease, on a highway. The disruption sends shockwaves through the traffic, triggering a series of consecutive accidents. But Ryu remains indifferent to the chaos left in his wake, as if none of it concerns him. Onlookers stand frozen in disbelief. How could any human move like that? Superhuman or not, Ryu has caused a major incident, prompting immediate police intervention. Meanwhile, he continues running, his mind fixated on a single thought. This must be a dream. This world, so unfamiliar, so unlike anything he has ever known, cannot be real. And if it is not a dream, then what is it? Suddenly, a memory flashes through his mind, the girl he was protecting. What became of her? Before he can think further, police vehicles surround him from all directions. Officers shout commands ordering him to stay where he is. Civilians are rushed away as part of emergency security measures. The police chief issues a direct order. The fugitive must be apprehended immediately, no hesitation, no negotiation. Then everything comes rushing back. The waterfall. The fall. Kayun. The masked enemy revealed at the last moment. A police officer steps forward, urging him to cooperate and come quietly. But Ryu doesn't understand. He was certain he had died when he plunged into that abyss. So what is this strange world? And why is this unknown figure issuing commands as if he holds power over him? There can only be one explanation. This must be the work of one of Yun's subordinates, specifically Yun Hai, the one with the ability to manipulate minds, trapping her victims in illusions so perfect that escape is impossible. But Ryu refuses to fall for this deception. Meanwhile, the police realize he will not surrender. Without hesitation, their commander authorizes the use of a stun gun. However, Ryu intercepts the attack with ease, grabbing the live wire that carries the electric current. As he tries to understand the nature of this strange force, multiple shocks surge through his body. The squad leader shouts an order, commanding all officers to fire their stun weapons at once. He then instructs one of them to check whether the suspect is still conscious or if the attack has inflicted serious harm. Yet, Ryu remains largely unaffected. His mind is preoccupied with a more pressing question. When did Yunhai manage to trap him in this illusion? But he quickly realizes that figuring this out is irrelevant. What truly matters is escaping this fabricated world, no matter the cost. With a fierce battle cry, he warns Yunhai not to assume she can hold him prisoner. Determined, he fends off every police attempt to restrain him, effortlessly taking them down. He is certain that the only way to break free from this illusion is to locate the key hidden within it and destroy it, shattering the mental deception once and for all. Just then, special police forces arrive, demanding his immediate surrender and warning him against resistance. But Ryu knows this world is meaningless, his only objective is to find the key and escape. Without hesitation, he bolts forward, leaping from building to building in an extraordinary display of agility, leaving the officers below in stunned disbelief. They struggle to comprehend what they are witnessing. No ordinary human could move like this. Upon receiving reports of the escalating situation, Jong Min-ho, the head of national intelligence, erupts in frustration, demanding to know how things could have spiraled out of control. Sang-yong responds apologetically, admitting that they had never anticipated such an event. Regardless, the situation is now completely beyond their control. The director, however, dismisses the police efforts outright, declaring that not even the Special Defense Forces stand a chance against Ryu. Everything that has already happened, and everything that is yet to come, will lead to nothing but devastation. Sang-yong acknowledges their worst fear has been confirmed. The being they have awakened is no ordinary human. He exists on an entirely different level. The intelligence chief scowls, furious. Are you serious? Is this the explanation you plan to give the president when he asks about this catastrophe? Before Sang-yong can respond, the director steps in. Don't be too harsh. No single person is to blame for this situation, he says grimly. If anything, I bear responsibility. But whether we accept it or not, we must face the truth. What we have awakened is not just a man from hundreds of years ago. He is something far beyond that, perhaps even stronger than any modern weapon. As a warrior from the Goryeo era, Ryu is one of the greatest fighters to have ever lived. Now he stands on a rooftop, surrounded from all directions. Soldiers, helicopters, and military-grade weaponry trained on him. Unfazed, he assesses the situation. If this is all you have, he says, gripping a wooden stick he picks up from the ground, then I suppose I should prepare myself as well. One of the soldiers scoffs, mocking him. You think a stick will help? Our technology makes your martial skills worthless. If you resist, these weapons will kill you instantly. Ryu tilts his head slightly, unimpressed. And you think you know who I am? He steps forward. Soon you'll see for yourself who is the real threat and who will be the one left dead. The soldier chuckles, amused. You're not just strong. You're interesting. He raises his weapon ready to fire. But then a voice cuts through the tension. A direct order, stand down. Do not engage. The reason? The president himself has decided to intervene. Security personnel urge the president to keep his distance, to remain on guard. But Kang Jik-han, the nation's leader, steps forward regardless. Introducing himself, he tells Ryu that he represents this country. The soldiers watch in stunned silence as he orders them to lower their weapons and withdraw. Ryu eyes him warily. You represent the nation? Does that mean you are its king? Kang nods slightly. You could think of it that way. He then extends a hand. First, I owe you an apology for all that has happened. Welcome to this world, Ryu. This is the future, modern-day South Korea. There is much to discuss, but this is not the place. Let's talk elsewhere. But before anyone can react, Ryu moves. In a blur of motion he strikes. With a single, precise slash, he severs the president's neck. For Ryu, there is only one truth. This so-called president must be the key to escaping this illusion. Shock ripples through the guards. They watch in horror as their leader is decapitated before their eyes. Instinctively, they raise their weapons ready to fire. But then, something impossible happens. The president's voice cuts through the chaos. Hold your fire. Silence. The soldiers hesitate, unable to comprehend what they are witnessing. Kang Jik-han remains standing, unharmed. He himself cannot explain what just transpired. He was certain Ryu had struck with the intent to kill. He had felt the attack, seen it coming. And yet, here he stands, completely unscathed. There is only one possible explanation. Ryu must have missed. However, Ryu remains firm. It wasn't a mistake, he says. He knew that Yun-Yun-hee, the greatest sorceress of Goryeo, would never create a meaningless illusion. The president furrows his brow. What did you just say? He asks, his voice barely audible over the howling wind. But Ryu does not repeat himself. His mind is too preoccupied with everything he has felt throughout the day. Every sensation, every encounter, it was all too vivid to be dismissed as an illusion or hallucination. There can be only one conclusion. This place is real. Following the incident, Ryu is escorted to one of the president's secure shelters, where he is provided with food. The president apologizes for the delay in preparing dinner, assuring Ryu that he should eat without hesitation and request anything else he might need. But Ryu remains wary. Instead of eating, he asks, "What is this place? What do you do here?" The president explains that it is a secret facility, one that had never been used until now. But this moment calls for it, he adds before gesturing toward the food. Go ahead. Everything before you is from the modern era. Ryu eyes the meal and responds, "It's unlikely to be much different from the food I know." The president chuckles. "So, does that mean you'll accept it?" At that moment he asks the crucial question. Have you finally come to terms with the fact that you've traveled 800 years into the future? Ryu considers for a moment before giving a measured response. To some extent, I have. The president seems pleased. He then points out what Ryu must have already realized, that his survival in this time is only possible because of modern technology. In the past, such a thing would have been unimaginable. Ryu's expression darkens. Then that means, Goryeo has fallen. My homeland has vanished from history. The president meets his gaze and says, I can't claim to know how that must feel for you. But don't worry. I'll offer you all the support you need to adjust to this time, to this new world you now inhabit. However, he adds, there will be something required in return. I'll need your cooperation, he states. But I assure you it won't be difficult. Just then he gives an order to the director of the National Intelligence Agency. Turn on the television. The screen flickers to life, showing a news broadcast. The public is already talking about Ryu. Eyewitnesses discuss the extraordinary man they saw earlier that day, someone who moved with impossible speed, keeping pace with passing vehicles. Some even whisper about a mysterious figure found frozen inside a glacier in the Han River. Coinciding with the appearance of the glacier, reports surfaced of an individual with supernatural abilities causing chaos in the city. However, the news broadcast ultimately dismisses these claims, stating that it was nothing more than an elaborate film production designed for complete realism. The president explains that they fed this story to the public because they cannot confirm such rumors. After all, the world is simply not ready to witness someone like Ryu. More importantly, the idea of a human surviving frozen for centuries isn't just about prolonging life. It could revolutionize science itself. Many nations have attempted such feats in the past, yet all have failed. The missing element, the technology to safely revive a frozen body, has always been out of reach. But now that key stands before them. For this reason, the president decides to be completely transparent, for the sake of both the country and their ancestors. Ryu's cooperation is crucial. Before he can finish, Ryu interrupts. His voice is firm. He has no interest in any of this and refuses to be involved. Without hesitation, he turns toward the exit. The president calls after him, asking if he truly believes he can simply walk away and accept living in this era. But as soon as Ryu opens the door, two massive guards block his path. The president's tone hardens. "Do you still believe you have a choice?" he asks. The friendly approach is over. Ryu has left him no other option. At that moment, a barrage of tranquilizer darts is fired at Ryu as the president coldly declares that they will put him back to sleep. One of the guards acknowledges that Ryu previously endured police stun guns, but he insists there's no way he can withstand a sedative strong enough to take down an elephant. However, what happens next leaves them in shock. The darts never even reach Ryu. There is no logical explanation, no visible defense mechanism, yet they are completely repelled. With effortless strength, Ryu neutralizes both the guards and their attacks without so much as breaking a sweat. He then turns to the president. "I'm leaving now." Fury flashes across the president's face. "You leave me no choice," he growls, despite the risk of what comes next. He issues the order, "Crank up the voltage. Ensure Ryu does not escape, no matter the cost." The guards prepare for another assault. One of them sneers at Ryu. "You should have just cooperated from the start. That would have been much better than what's coming next." They warn Ryu that he will soon wish for death before enduring the pain they are about to inflict. This time, the electricity coursing through their weapons is 10 times stronger than a standard stun gun. But just as they move in to strike, Ryu vanishes from their reach, his speed beyond comprehension. He evades their attacks with inhuman agility, rendering all their attempts to subdue him utterly useless. Despite wielding the most advanced and lethal technology, the elite guards are powerless against an opponent who does not even fight back. All they can do is stand there helpless as he walks away untouched. The president watches in disbelief. They lost him just like that. The idea of capturing him again through force is now an impossibility. His assistant tries to reassure him, suggesting that they will find another way to bring Ryu to their side. The president immediately demands an update on his location. The assistant hesitates, acknowledging that Ryu is no ordinary target. Tracking him will require an extensive search. But before they can strategize, an agent rushes into the room with urgent news. They have found him. The president's eyes narrow. "Where?" The agent hesitates before revealing something baffling. For reasons unknown, Ryu has placed himself in plain sight. He is standing atop the tallest skyscraper in the city. And then he jumps. As he falls, Ryu sees nothing but a world devoid of meaning. This reality holds no purpose for him. The people he once vowed to protect are long gone. The enemies he was meant to fight and destroy no longer exist. In a world like this, he has no reason to be. And then a realization strikes him. He should have died back then, when he threw himself into the waterfall, locked in battle with his greatest foe. Or perhaps, in truth, he did die that day. There is no reason for him to continue existing. But then, something catches his eye. A flickering image on one of the massive digital billboards below. A face that sends a shockwave through him. The masked warrior, Okun, his sworn enemy. A painful memory surfaces, as sharp and raw as the day it was carved into his soul. He remembers the masked man's mocking words. "You may have saved that foolish woman, but you failed to protect your own family." He had taunted Ryu, telling him that his loved ones had turned against each other, lost in delusions, stripped of their free will. And now, under the full moon's cold gaze, true devastation was about to begin. "Keep fighting, Ryu. Hold on to your vengeance. Keep struggling to survive. Soon, I will crush everything beneath my feet, and no one will be spared." The memory burns. Ryu remembers it all. He remembers him, the source of his suffering, the architect of his downfall, the one who must be destroyed. Shock crashes over Ryu. He was certain he had killed Okun back then. So how is that cursed man still alive even in this future? Refusing to meet his end upon impact, Ryu uses his abilities to slow his descent, landing safely on the rooftop of a nearby building. He gazes at the image of Okun, mind racing as he contemplates his next move. Meanwhile, the president receives an urgent report. Ryu has jumped from the tallest building in the city. Stunned, he demands an explanation. How could this happen? At the very least, they need to recover his body. But then comes another shock. There is no body. No trace of Ryu anywhere. He has vanished. The revelation fuels the president's frustration, but before he can react further, his team informs him that they have found a witness. Immediately, the president demands to hear the witness's account. According to the report, Ryu did nothing except ask about a man named Yun-woo. He made no other moves, took no hostile action. The president scoffs. Yun-woo? There isn't a single person in Korea who doesn't know that name. Yun-woo is an international action star, a legend in the film industry. From a young age, he displayed an astonishing talent for acting, captivating audiences with bold and powerful performances. His presence has dominated both Eastern and Western cinema, earning him a place in some of the most successful productions in history. Beyond his acting prowess, his striking looks have catapulted him to idol-level fame. His immense popularity has not only skyrocketed his company's stock value but has also elevated Korea's reputation on the global stage. This is what a student tells Ryu when he asks about the man in the picture. Ryu is taken aback. Okun is nothing like what he expected. But if he truly exists in this time period, there are only two possibilities. Either this man is merely someone who resembles the masked Okun, or Ryu clenches his fists. It's him. The real Okun. Ryu hopes for the latter. He needs to meet him as soon as possible. There are too many things they must settle. But before he can dwell on it further, the student interrupts. That's impossible. Ryu narrows his eyes. Why? The student stares at him, baffled. How could you even think about meeting someone like that? He's not just famous, he's an international superstar. The student hesitantly adds that while meeting Yun-woo is nearly impossible, there is a slim chance of seeing him, perhaps by waiting at the airport, though there's no real plan beyond that. Before he can say more, Ryu's reaction leaves him in shock. Without warning, Ryu slams his head into the screen displaying Yun-woo's image, shattering it instantly. The student collapses to the ground in terror as Ryu looms over him, demanding a way to meet Yun-woo. Fear grips the student. Trembling, he begs Ryu not to hurt him. Ryu, unfazed, tells him he won't lay a hand on him, so long as he provides a way to meet Yun-woo. Still shaking, the student asks for a promise first. Once Ryu gives his word, the student finally reveals the truth. There is no way to meet him. Yun-woo left the country some time ago. This revelation catches Ryu off guard. His enemy, Okun, is in a foreign land. Meanwhile, across the ocean in the United States, Ryu's sworn enemy, now the renowned actor Yun-woo, sits peacefully enjoying a meal. But his moment of calm is suddenly interrupted. A man storms up to him and throws a powerful punch, knocking the food off his table. The attacker, a foreigner, glares down at him and demands that he leave. Someone like him doesn't belong here, he claims. This establishment belongs to their organization. Then an awkward pause. The man blinks, hesitating. His expression shifts from hostility to confusion. After a few seconds, he sighs and apologizes to the director. He forgot his next line and needs to check the script again. Frustration ripples through the production team. It isn't the first time, or even the second, that filming has been delayed due to his mistakes. Yun-woo, however, remains composed. Turning to the actor James, he calmly tells him that they can't keep shooting like this. Then, with a hint of humor, he adds, "If you're going to hit me, do it on the other side of my face this time. Otherwise, I won't be able to deliver my lines properly." Before James can react, something catches his attention. The massive crystal chandelier above them begins to tremble. Then, without warning, it snaps free. Time slows. Just as the chandelier plummets toward James, Yun-woo moves in a flash, yanking him out of harm's way at the last possible moment. The set erupts in chaos. Crew members rush forward, checking for injuries. The production manager calls out, asking if everyone is safe. Yun-woo nods, brushing himself off. "We're fine," he assures them. "We just barely avoided a serious accident." Despite his injury, Yun-woo still needs to go to the hospital due to a serious wound on his arm from the broken glass. At the hospital, he receives the necessary treatment, and his manager stays by his side. The manager praises him, saying he was incredible, especially when he jumped to protect James from the falling chandelier, just like in a movie. Yun-woo admits he doesn't quite understand what happened, explaining that his body seemed to act on its own. Regardless, he reassures his manager that he's fine now. Noticing the pile of gifts from the crew, Yun-woo suggests leaving some behind for the hospital staff. His manager agrees, saying it's a great idea. Yoon-woo then apologizes, feeling guilty that the filming schedule was disrupted because of him. The manager reassures him, saying they're fortunate he wasn't seriously hurt and that filming is the least of their concerns right now. He then shares the updated shooting schedule, catching Yoon-woo completely off guard. Meanwhile, at the Blue House, the president thanks his team for their hard work and informs them that he has to leave to take care of something. As he walks out, Ryu's voice stops him, saying he has been waiting for the president for a long time. The president responds, acknowledging that Ryu is just as impressive as everyone says, the only person capable of entering and leaving the Blue House at will. He also notes that Ryu looks to be in much better condition than before. The last time Ryu appeared so suddenly, he nearly gave the president a heart attack. The president recalls what happened 9 hours ago when Ryu unexpectedly showed up in his office and asked if the offer of cooperation still stood. The president had anticipated his arrival but had one question before they could move forward. He then pulled out a photo of Yoon-woo and asked Ryu if he had any connection to this person. Ryu acknowledged that he had uncovered the truth, but he now had one condition for their cooperation. He demanded to be introduced to this person who was in a foreign country. He insisted that it happen as soon as possible, and without hesitation the president agreed on the condition that Ryu would fully cooperate with them. Ryu was caught off guard when the president extended his hand for a handshake, as handshakes weren't part of the Goryeo-era customs. Despite this, Ryu accepted and shook his hand. Back in the present, Ryu asks the president when he will meet this person. The president inquires if Ryu wants to meet him immediately, to which Ryu responds affirmatively. The president explains that although he is in a position of power, arranging a meeting with someone over 30 million feet away is no simple task. However, Ryu is fortunate this time, as the person they are looking for is already inside, waiting for them. Yoon-woo expresses his honor in meeting the president, but Ryu finds this encounter strange. If this person is truly okay Yoon, he needs to confirm his identity immediately. Yoon-woo then steps forward, introduces himself, and the president thanks him for coming without delay. Ryu replies that his schedule had changed anyway, so there's no need for thanks. The president then asks about Yoon-woo's arm injury, to which Yoon-woo dismisses it as a mere scratch. Ryu interrupts him, introduces himself, and extends his hand for a handshake. Yoon-woo shakes Ryu's hand and remarks that he must be the national soldier the president mentioned. He expresses his pleasure in meeting Ryu, especially since he's heard they'll be appearing together in a promotional video, which he considers an honor. The president then suggests they sit and talk now that everyone has been introduced. However, Ryu is completely distracted, as he senses no ki or internal energy coming from Yoon-woo. Ryu firmly grips Yoon-woo's hand, prompting Yoon-woo to comment to the president that the rumors about Ryu's strength were indeed true. Ryu quickly apologizes for his actions. The president suggests they sit together while he steps out to use the restroom, assuring them he'll join them soon. As he leaves the room, he encounters several guards standing outside, who inform him that all units are now on high alert. Meanwhile, Ryu sips his tea and comments on how excellent it tastes at the Blue House, offering Yoon-woo a taste. However, Ryu is lost in thought, realizing that this person is not okay Yoon but just someone who looks like him. This realization leaves him deeply disappointed. His frustration shows on his face, causing Yoon-woo to ask if he's feeling tired. Leaning closer, Yoon-woo asks him to move a little nearer. Then, in a quiet, sly whisper, he asks if the great sword warrior is still alive. At those words, Ryu loses control, and his energy begins to surge. Yoon-woo remarks that Ryu doesn't seem happy about their reunion. Enraged, Ryu demands to know if Yoon-woo finds this situation amusing or worth making jokes about. Yoon-woo responds, saying it's been a long time since they last met. Ryu then realizes that Okun had suppressed his energy completely to avoid detection, astonished by his skill in mastering such a technique. Yoon-woo tells Ryu that even if he killed him now, it wouldn't accomplish anything and urges him to calm his thirst for blood. He adds that based on Ryu's appearance and behavior, it's clear he hasn't been in this world long. Ryu retorts that, on the contrary, Yoon-woo seems to have been here for quite some time. Determined to get answers, Ryu demands to know if their arrival in this world was just another one of Yoon-woo's deceptions. Yoon-woo calmly responds, asking how he could possibly orchestrate such a trick. Ryu then asks another question, insisting on an honest answer. Did the young lady also arrive in this world? Yoon-woo tells him to stop with the threatening tone and asks if he's referring to the girl Ryu was protecting back then. His tone shifts to one of mockery as he says that even he would like to know if she's here. Enraged by the provocation, Ryu uses his strength to hurl Yoon-woo, along with the table and chair he was sitting on, across the room. He declares that he will find out the truth on his own. Yun-woo laughs, remarking that he wants to know if they've always been like this. The matter has now become personal, and he can no longer remain silent. He then speaks to Ryu in a challenging tone, acknowledging that Ryu likely doesn't care about the consequences. However, he reassures him that no one will interrupt them now, as he has used his power to isolate their location with an illusion, making it appear as if this is just a friendly reunion between old acquaintances. With that, he says it's time to settle their old scores and lunges at Ryu, ready to fight. But Ryu stops him abruptly, telling him to stop the nonsense. He has realized that Yun-woo is not the real Ok-yun. Ryu then takes hold of a pine nut. Yun-woo, now revealing confusion, questions Ryu's strange action. Ryu responds by crushing the pine nut, declaring that he will verify things for himself. At that moment, Yun-woo's disguise starts to fade. Ryu tells her that, while she successfully hid her energy, she failed to control the small amount that leaked out when she instinctively defended herself. Ryu states that he is well aware of the vile masked man's energy, and this is definitely not his. Yun-woo, now revealed to be Owen-hai, expresses surprise and admiration. She admits that she never expected to be exposed so quickly, especially given how little time had passed since Ryu's awakening. Ryu tells her that, of all the people he expected to meet, he never imagined encountering her here. After all, on the day of the rebellion when she stood on the edge of the cliff, it was he who killed her and threw her off, certain that she had perished that day. Owen-hai responds, saying Ryu is making her feel ashamed of herself. She reveals that, just as he discovered Yun-woo was in fact Ok-yun, the famous celebrity in this world, she has been disguising herself as him to carry out tasks assigned to her by her master, Ok-yun. She must submit daily reports on her activities, and today she plans to include this surprising news. After assessing Ryu's abilities, Owen-hai begins using her own techniques and tells him that her master, Ok-yun, will be pleased. She activates her illusion cloning technique, creating multiple copies of herself and declaring that she will be rewarded if she delivers Ryu to Ok-yun. However, as soon as she launches her attack, Ryu immediately identifies the real one among her clones, strikes her and pins her to the ground. She feels his overwhelming ki energy paralyze her movements. Ryu tells her that she spent too much time talking and not enough time focusing on what she should have been doing. Owen-hai retorts that the real fool is Ryu for recklessly releasing such a massive amount of ki energy, even though his body has been dormant for so long. By doing this, he is heading down an irreversible path toward self-destruction. However, contrary to her expectations, Ryu strikes both her and her clones at once, telling her that her naive assumptions don't apply to him. Owen-hai is shocked as all her clones collapse to the ground, drained of energy. Ryu then tells her that he is certain he killed her with his own hands before. That day, after sustaining severe injuries, she fell off the cliff, making survival impossible. So, how did she end up here in the future? She responds that she truly believed she was going to die, but when she regained consciousness, she found the world completely changed. She had awakened hundreds of years later, unable to understand anything around her. However, she eventually realized that it was Master Ok-yun who had brought her to this time, allowing her to live. Ryu asks if she means that Ok-yun was here before she arrived in this world. She confirms it, saying this is the truth. Master Ok-yun holds her in high regard, which is why she must remain loyal to him until the end. Suddenly, Owen-hai attacks Ryu with a hidden hairpin, but he effortlessly blocks the strike and counters with a powerful blow, sending her flying. As he approaches, he tells her she's foolish to believe that vile Ok-yun actually saved her. Ryu then asks how long she's been in this world. Owen-hai replies she has been here for about a month. Ryu then questions when her body began to decay like this. Confused, Owen-hai asks what he means by such strange words. Ryu explains that he has been sensing a foul stench of decay for some time. He tells her that while Ok-yun may have pretended to save her, he actually used a technique that would eventually lead to her death, treating her as nothing more than a disposable pawn. Furious, Owen-hai vehemently denies his accusation, insisting that Master Ok-yun would never do such a thing and that she's never heard of such a technique before. Ryu explains that it isn't just a technique, it's a gift she was unaware of, but it's undeniable proof that she holds no real value to Ok-yun in the future. Enraged, Owen-hai curses at him, but Ryu tells her to think rationally. Why would Ok-yun assign her a task while having her disguise herself in such a ridiculous manner? The simple answer is that she's only useful for that specific purpose. Owen-hai is shaken as she begins to grasp the horrifying possibility that her body is destined to rot away until death. Ryu then tells her there is a way to extend her life, by injecting her with Kai energy that counters the Kai spreading inside her. This will stop her body from deteriorating. He immediately begins using his power to inject energy into the decaying parts of her body. Instantly, the rotting tissues begin to fade away. At that moment, Owenhai realizes that her master, Okun, may have truly intended to discard her after using her. Ryu tells her that only two people can inject her with internal energy, him and Okun. However, the choice is hers. She can either choose Okun, who plans to kill and dispose of her, or she can choose him, the one who saved her from this horrific fate. Owenhai replies that all she wants is to live and asks what exactly Ryu wants her to do. Ryu tells her there's only one thing: she must become a double agent. After coming to an agreement, Ryu and Owenhai hear a commotion outside the room, catching the attention of the guards. Suddenly Yunwoo bursts out, screaming for help and calling for anyone nearby to assist him. The president hurries toward him, asking what happened inside, while the security team tries to pull him away from the scene. However, Yunwoo seems distressed and anxious, claiming that the person inside has completely lost control and is no longer stable. When they enter the room, they find it in chaos as though a storm had hit. Ryu apologizes for the mess, assuring them that he will compensate them as much as possible. He explains his actions, claiming that he had been imagining things which led to his irrational behavior, but assures them that he's fine now. The president says they'll discuss compensation later and asks Ryu if he truly feels alright, as his appearance seems unstable. Ryu reassures him that he is fine, then turns to Yunwoo to ask if he was injured in any way. Yunwoo replies that he's unharmed, but internally, Owenhai senses that Ryu is far from stable. Ryu comments that he's frustrated by the events, as they couldn't even enjoy a simple cup of tea in peace. He hopes that they'll have another chance in the future. He then recalls a conversation with his master about the role of a guardian, someone who wields a sword to protect others. He remembers the oath he made. From that moment he would carry a sword to protect people, save them from harm, and even sacrifice his life if necessary. His master had told him that the person he was assigned to protect must always come first, even if it meant losing his own life or the lives of his family. He was also told that a person with something to protect never dies easily and should remember those words well. During his medical exam, signs of instability appear in Ryu, causing the scientists to worry. They repeatedly ask if he feels alright. Ryu reassures them that he is fine and has no issues, then asks how long he needs to stay in this condition. The head researcher responds that, thanks to his cooperation, they've gathered enough research material. If he feels exhausted, they can continue their work later. Ryu gets dressed and tells them that he still has promises to fulfill. He believes the dream he just had was a sign. He heads to meet Owenhai as planned. She tells him he's late and asks if anyone followed him. He reassures her that the president assigned someone to monitor him, but there's no need to worry. He then suggests they sit down and talk. As they sit, Owenhai comments that something feels strange. Specifically, he appears to be completely broke with no money, yet he keeps ordering excessive amounts of drinks. Meanwhile, Owenhai is not wealthy enough to spend money on him. Ryu responds that he is the one who should be asking questions and investigating, then brings up the name Okun. He reveals that he has finally uncovered the true identity of the masked man, a revelation that was both shocking and completely unexpected. Okun's family was the one Ryu was assigned to protect. There had been rumors that the family's son had died in an incident, with his body disappearing, but in truth he had been planning rebellion and revenge for a long time. Ryu then asks Owenhai how long Okun has been plotting this rebellion. Owenhai answers that Okun is full of secrets and that there must be a logical reason behind him wearing the mask. She chose to follow him simply because she wanted to, so Ryu might not find the answers he's looking for from her. He asks if she knows whether only the two of them, she and Okun, arrived in the future or if someone else came as well. Owenhai replies that as far as she knows, it's just the three of them. She became curious and tried to find out if anyone else came, but despite her research, there was no evidence or results indicating anyone else. Ryu then asks where Okun is and what he is currently planning. Owenhai tells him that Okun is outside the country. She then asks if Ryu really believes he'll be able to meet him so easily, as Okun is far stronger than he appears. However, Ryu suddenly gestures for her to be quiet, as his focus shifts to something else. Owenhai asks why he's acting this way. Meanwhile, Okun senses something unusual behind him. When his manager asks why he suddenly stopped, Okun smirks and replies slyly that something interesting has just appeared nearby. Back at the cafe, Ryu suddenly stands up and mutters that this is pathetic. Owenhai asks him what he's talking about. Ryu responds that he is adding new conditions. Owenhai is taken aback by his strange statement, but Ryu, now sensing Okayun's presence, realizes how pathetic he truly is. He's been consumed by a thirst for revenge to the point that he has forgotten the most important thing, his true priority beyond anything else. He adds that since the three of them have arrived in this world, nothing is impossible. Owenhai tells Ryu that his words don't make sense. Ryu reflects on his master's teachings, remembering that a person who has something to protect never dies easily, and that this is the fundamental rule of a guardian. He then declares that his first priority is to find the young lady he was assigned to protect, as this is his unwavering principle. Owenhai asks if he has any plans or methods to do so. Ryu replies that he will take his chances and see what happens. Owenhai warns him that it's not that simple or easy, especially since she can barely remember what the girl looks like. Ryu reassures her, saying there's no need to worry as he served her his entire life and remembers every detail about her. He then begins sketching her features so they can use the drawing in their search. However, the result looks more like a childish cartoon. Meanwhile, a high school student calls out to her friend, Choi Seon, reminding her that they had agreed to leave together and asking how she could leave without her manager. Seon replies nonchalantly. Her friend, concerned, reminds her that although they are just students, Seon is still a celebrity. She can't go wandering around alone, especially with her large fan base. There are some obsessed fans out there, some with bizarre behavior, making it dangerous for her to be out on her own. Just a few days ago, someone had been hiding in the hallway. Seon admits that it is truly terrifying. Her friend, somewhat jealous, wishes she could be famous too, dreaming of being in the spotlight like Seon. She asks if Seon has seen the number of views her interview by the Han River has gotten, adding that exciting news is coming soon. At that moment, Ryu and Owenhai arrive at the location where the two girls are. Owenhai asks Ryu if he's sure this is the girl they are looking for. She then tells him that modern technology is an endless ocean of information with remarkable features. Ryu agrees, saying she's right. He had initially thought it would take years to find her using his internal energy. But he's suddenly shocked when he sees what is happening with the two girls during the brief moment he took his eyes off them. Two unfamiliar men stop the girls, asking why they are running away, claiming they mean no harm. They say they are just fans of Seon with a small request before they leave for military service the next day. All they want is for her to say a few words of encouragement and maybe take a commemorative photo with them. After all, they had supported her during her tough times, and it would only be fair for her to return the favor as someone they admire deeply. Ryu watches the situation from afar, and Owenhai comments that something seems off, asking if they should continue observing. He then recalls the young lady, who was gentle and delicate like a dandelion, despite coming from a wealthy and prestigious family. She often cried a lot, and when she fell ill, her sickness was severe. This was why she required constant protection. She was fragile in every sense of the word, yet she couldn't stand injustice and always took action when someone was in need. Finally, he can hug that girl. Owenhai just observes the whole situation, and with another flashback we see the young lady who beat up some thugs with a piece of wood. And coming back to the present, she also knocked down those two perverts. Empty-handed, she was by no means weak, she was his master. Ryu approaches Seon's manager and apologizes for being so late. Deep down, he's almost certain that the girl before him is the young lady he once protected. He removes his coat and offers it to her, telling her the weather is too cold and urging her to wear it so she doesn't get sick. Unexpectedly, she delivers a sudden and powerful punch to his stomach. Ryu is taken completely off guard by her strange and surprising reaction, and the only explanation he can think of is that something is wrong. She looks at him and smiles, saying that it's been a while since they last met. She then asks if he's another obsessive sightseeing fan who's been following them. Ryu is left in shock, and the thought crosses his mind that this girl may not actually be the same young lady he once protected. Wondering if she might have lost her memory, he asks her name. She looks puzzled and asks if he's not actually following her friend. Ryu experiences another wave of shock, realizing he was mistaken. The girl in front of him and the young lady he once protected are completely different people. The girl apologizes for hitting him, admitting that she overreacted and misunderstood the situation entirely. She asks for his forgiveness. At that moment, two of her other friends arrive and grab Ryu, asking her if he's one of the annoying fans who have been bothering them. They try to restrain him, but Ryu is far stronger than both of them and they can't move him an inch. The girl explains to her friends that they're too late. She had already dealt with the troublesome fans as seen by the ones lying on the ground. As for this man, he has nothing to do with the situation. Seon's manager and her friends then go to handle the disruptive fans and turn them over to security to ensure her safety. Meanwhile, Ryu silently watches, his expression filled with sorrow. Later, Ryu and Owen-hai visit the site that is said to be the young lady's grave. Owen-hai comments that it may seem simple now due to the passage of time, but it must have been much more elaborate in the past. She adds that this information was confirmed by the country's chief historian. It said that the Min family to which the young lady belonged officially recorded her death on the day of the rebellion. Even her belongings were found inside the grave. Owen-hai is confused when Ryu suddenly kneels down on the ground, unsure of what he is doing. However, Ryu recalls the moment when he and Akyun fell, the event that set everything into motion because of his overwhelming desire to protect her. He had broken all the rules and blames himself for dying back then, believing that if he had survived, the young lady would not have suffered this fate. Overcome with emotion, Ryu angrily pounds the ground in frustration, feeling that he failed at the simplest duty any guardian should fulfill, making him despise himself. Meanwhile, Owen-hai is convinced that the young lady is truly dead, but she finds it strange that the girl from earlier looks so much like her. She decides to investigate further, determined to uncover everything about this mystery. At the same time, Min Duo-lui arrives at her workplace, only to find it in disarray with no one around. She soon notices her manager sleeping on the couch with his face covered. He tells her that even though he's the only one working in the office, he'll never abandon it. Duo-lui replies that he sleeps at the office because he's abandoned his home, not because of any love for work. The manager, Im Shiduk, CEO of SD Agency, which has only one employee, dismisses it as a trivial matter and tells her not to focus on him too much. Instead, he asks her to make him a bowl of ramen since she's arrived. Duo-lui protests, saying she's the only celebrity here and shouldn't be burdened with such requests. The manager sighs, telling her to stop acting so arrogantly and suggests she cook 2 servings if she wants to eat as well. Duo-lui then asks if there are any updates, especially since her interview video has spread across multiple platforms, and she's heard that several parties are interested in contacting her. The manager tells her to wait a little longer, as everyone is busy with the child who recently made an appearance. Duo-lui insists he stops stalling and wasting time, threatening to bet everything on the school audition and be done with it. She adds that the teacher's evaluations are usually fair, but before she can continue, her words are interrupted by the enthusiastic voice of the coach, who is speaking excitedly on the phone. When Duo-lui asks what's going on, the manager tells her that a dramatic meeting has been arranged for her with a major production company. Overcome with joy, Duo-lui can hardly believe what she's hearing. The manager then asks what she wants to do now. Duo-lui replies saying of course she will go. However, when she arrives at the meeting location, she is extremely puzzled, unable to understand why she was summoned to such an abandoned place. Duo-lui tries to calm herself, reminding herself that this is a major production company, so there shouldn't be any problems. Perhaps that's why the president sent her alone. When she arrives at the designated location, she is offered a drink. The people there welcome her warmly and ask her to sit with them, speaking as if they were old friends. They assure her that there's no need to worry or feel nervous, emphasizing that this is just a casual meet and greet, not an official interview. However, things take a suspicious turn when one of them stands up, approaches her, and tells her that if she truly wants to succeed, she needs to form a closer relationship with them. He claims they know about the difficult time she's been through, but from now on, they'll guide her toward making money and make everything easier for her. Duo-lui instantly senses that something is wrong and realizes that something shady is happening. She shoves his hand away and stands up, declaring that she has no interest in working with them, even if they offered her all the money in the world. Suddenly, she begins to feel dizzy, her vision blurs, and she can no longer stand steadily. The 2 men laugh, and one remarks that President Chun has very different tastes, suggesting that using drugs might not even have been necessary. Struggling to stay conscious, Duo-lui weakly asks if they put something in her drink. The men laugh at her, saying she never saw this coming. They add that everyone knows her manager, Chi-duk, is easy to deceive. They were always going to get what they wanted, and her manager was the easiest target. They confidently mention that her manager is probably reviewing a script with a big smile on his face right now, especially since this is the first job he's landed since being fired. As for her, they know people like her never give up on their dreams, and they plan to use that against her. One of the men reports to their boss, confirming that everything is going according to plan without any issues. Meanwhile, Ryu is consumed by a single thought: avenging the young lady, destroying everything related to Ayun, and making him regret the day he chose to rebel. His thoughts are interrupted when Owen-hai arrives, telling him she has news that will greatly interest him. Ryu asks if it's about Okun, but she denies it. He tells her to leave, but she insists that he listen to her first. She explains that the girl who resembles the young lady but seems to have lost her memory was an unusual case, especially after noticing the striking resemblance. Because of this, she decided to explore other possibilities, researching multiple books and sources, and eventually discovered that the girl's name is Min Do Lee. She belongs to the same Min family as the young lady. Ryu is shocked by this revelation and starts to pay closer attention to Owenhai's words. She informs him that Do Lee is a direct descendant of the young lady, which is why she began tracking her to see where she went and what she was doing. She tells him that Do Lee is likely in urgent need of help right now. However, before she can finish, Ryu stands up and storms off without a word. Owenhai watches him leave, asking if this was the reason she came to tell him. She thought that once he heard Do Lee was the young lady's descendant, he would rush to her aid, but she realizes she was wrong and has wasted her time. Owenhai calls out, asking why he left, but Ryu replies that no matter what, that girl is not the young lady he was assigned to protect.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, it really helps. And for more content like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see another part. I'd love to hear your thoughts. See you next time. Bye-bye.